Okay, some of you have had a chance, ooh, it's loud. Some of you have had a chance to see the book. I've already had some people ask me to sign theirs and everything, and I thank you so much for purchasing the book to begin with. It is a historical romance, German Americans coming to this country in the 1850s and settling right here, right where you're at. And the thing is, I live in Idaho, and so usually the first thing people say, like, why did you pick Southern Illinois for the setting of your book? I was actually born in Wood River. Both of my parents are from Bethalto. They went to Civic Memorial. They went all the way through school together. And in fact, my mom and dad never dated anybody else. My mom says when she was in 8th grade, Dad gave her a bracelet. And when she got that bracelet, her mother was very upset. You're too young to be that serious, you know. And, but they were just always together. And then senior prom, my dad asked my mom to marry her. And he went away to SIU, decided they couldn't be apart, and they got married Thanksgiving Day, the first birthday he had. So they were married until they passed away just a few years ago. And yeah, so they were together all that time. So my parents were actually married in this church. I was baptized here. So we're from this area, and as many of you have already seen, and by the way, thank you very much for the nice write-up in the bulletin. I was here on Sunday, and I thought, oh gosh, there's more in this bulletin here, announcement than we ever get in ours. But I thought that was very nice. But as you know, my maiden name then is Neunaber. Okay, so my family, my grandmother actually was the church secretary here for quite a long time in the 50s, and my grandfather actually helped create the original of this church. You've remodeled a few times since then, but the original of this church. And he was a contractor, and my dad helped with that and everything too. So I definitely have some deep roots here. And so when I think about my German American heritage, this is where I think about it. And so that's why when I wanted to put this together, I started here. I am a retired English teacher. I taught English for 26 years. And so oftentimes people ask me, well, how long did it take to write this book? I have no clue. First of all, I don't know because I've had the kernel for writing this for a very long time, probably since my kids were little, and my children are all in their 40s, so that kind of gives you an idea. But when you're teaching, and especially high school, and you're reading essays all the time and things like that as an English teacher, it just really didn't work out to do it. So I retired in 2018 and started to finally put some of this on paper and start doing the research in earnest. And as I did the research, I found out so many cool things that I just had to put in the book too. And like I was telling some of the gals before most of you arrived, the town that I have my characters in is the town of Bethel. Do you know why I put them in Bethel and not like Alton or whatever? That's the original name for Bethalto. Okay, so it's pre-Bethalto. Okay, yeah, because what happened is that Bethel, when they went to incorporate, there's already another Bethel, Illinois, somewhere else. I don't know where, but somewhere. And when they went to incorporate, they couldn't use that name. So they took the first 4 letters of Bethel and first 4 letters of Alton, and you have, voila, Bethalto. Okay. So yeah, so it's pre-Bethalto, and I do call the church that they attend and of course it would have been a little white church. I don't know if you know your history of your church, but there used to be a little white church, and so I put them there, and so that's where they attend, and there's a number of outings and stuff. Of course, they go to the church and so forth, and I won't tell you everything that happens, but they do have somebody that ends up in the cemetery and things like that. So all of that is here. And so when I left, I came to church here on Sunday. When I left here, I took Morrow Road out this way and was watching like the rolling hills, and I thought, good, I think I described this right. I haven't been here for a while, So I thought, oh, this is kind of nice that I was able to do that. So I moved away from here when I was about 2nd grade. And one of the reasons I moved, or our family moved, my dad worked for the highway department. I don't know if you know much about Illinois history. Many of you are old enough to know when these things happened. But back in the day, there was these corrupted officials in the Illinois state. That doesn't happen today, right? Anyway, he wasn't getting paid regularly, even though we looked for the state of Idaho for our highway department, okay? And here he has, I'm the oldest of 5 children, and the youngest one had just been born, and so he's got 5 little mouths to feed, and not a steady paycheck coming in. And he actually had to come to the bank in Bethalto and beg a relative that actually worked there and said, hey, can you lend me some money? When he first did that, the relative was thinking, wait a minute, you work for the government, why aren't you getting paid? Because it hadn't hit the paper yet. And he's thinking, what's going on? Like, are you gambling? Are you drinking? Where's the money going is what he was wondering. But he knew that he had little kids, and he gave him the money, the loan, and then it hit the paper, what was going on. He calls my dad and says, you come and get whatever you need, because then he understood. But because of all of that, or partly because of all of that, my dad took a job with the federal government and highway department, and we ended up in Vancouver, Washington, Portland, Oregon area. And so that's where I've done most of my growing up. I moved away from here in 2nd grade and never returned to live anyway. They would let us visit from time to time. But and I'll say that too, because one of the other reasons we left is because I had asthma really bad as a child, okay? You guys have this humidity thing we don't have, where I live in Idaho. And in fact, we would come back, visit, grandparents on both sides are here, cousins and that kind of thing. We'd come to visit, and I actually had a cousin, or I don't know, a relative of some sort, that says, I didn't think Terri could come back here anymore. And I thought, I wasn't exiled from Illinois. They do let me come back. So anyway, that was kind of nice that I was able to come back and visit like I am right now. Actually, one of the main reasons I'm here actually is I'm the LWML president for the Utah-Idaho district, and we have president meetings that start tomorrow over in St. Louis. So I got to come a little early, and that's why I get to be here at all, which is really nice. So with the German heritage and whatnot, I had a talk this morning, and someone said, well, what's the name of your book? Well, the name of the book is For the Love of Family, and it's the first of 3 books, okay? The series is called In a Land So Strange, and of course, the land so strange is here, okay? And you're thinking, well, why are you calling America or Illinois or this area strange? Well, think about it. If you're coming here from Europe, and especially when our ancestors came, they came New Orleans and up the Mississippi River, okay? They didn't come in like Ellis Island, okay? So they come up the Mississippi River. Well, you stop in New Orleans in the 1850s, so you're talking pre-Civil War, and what's going to be one of the first things you're going to see? Slave trade, exactly. On the docks, you've got slaves working the docks. There are slave auctions going on, and here you have this young, impressionable young teenager that sees this stuff and thinking, this is not what she expected. It's supposed to be the land of the free, streets paved with gold and all those kind of things that they're kind of told in Europe. And it was just not what she expected. And so, so the land is pretty strange. It's definitely different than where they came from. Like I said, there's going to be a series, and I'll read a little bit of this for you in a minute, but I'll tell you what the series is about. This one, I'll tell you more about this one in a minute. The second one, this takes place in 1850s. The second one takes place during the Civil War. So one of the characters that you meet is this child, and this one gets old enough, he wants to join up, and he's actually a student at Concordia Sim and joins up and whatnot, and becomes a love interest for this gal here's younger sister. And then the third one actually will be about orphanage that they set up after the Civil War for the war orphans, which is another thing that they really did over in the St. Louis area. And that's what I was mostly doing research for while I've been here. Yesterday, I'm losing track, I've been here only a few days. I went down to Perryville and Altenburg and actually the Concordia Historical Institute yesterday doing research on the orphanages and that kind of thing. I got a whole list of like what kind of rules they had at the orphanage and that kind of stuff that I can probably incorporate a little bit. I really like doing the history. It's really fun. For instance, I'm assuming, maybe you shouldn't assume. You did know there was a penitentiary in Alton, right? Okay. So that penitentiary closed right before the Civil War, or shortly before. They opened it again during the Civil War for the Confederate soldiers, okay? And then it closed again right after the war was over. That's actually a main part of the book too during the Civil War. So I spent a lot of time in Alton. The characters in this book end up settling in Alton and raising their family and that kind of thing. So that's book 2. I'm 65,000 words into book 2. A book is about 75,000 words long, so I'm almost to the end of the first draft. It'll take a lot of edits after that, but the first draft of that one. So that being said, let me read you the prologue of this one. Kind of sets it up for what the story is about. And I got to say too, especially when I was at church on Sunday, I was looking at your list of who to pray for in the back of your bulletin. I might be gleaning some names for characters, just so you know. Like, good, I wasn't in there, huh? How funny. So anyway, the original story did not have a prologue. The publisher asked me to do that. The original story started with the young lady on the ship, heading to the U.S. from Germany, and then thinking about how she ended up in this situation and coming. They wanted me to pull that out and make that a prologue, so that's what I had to do to appease the publisher. So let me read the prologue. Herman Neubauer, not Neunaber, Neubauer, okay, had ached to leave his homeland more than the rest of his family. He read volumes of American ideologies that his brother Martin hauled home from the library. Reading James Fenimore Cooper's trilogy, Bravo, The Heidenmauer, and The Headsman, began Herman's serious dreaming about America. He quoted passages about adventures outside his small town. He insisted that the American way of living gave the ordinary person far more freedom than the European aristocracy. Other works by Cooper held less ideological adages, but examined the American wilderness like The Last of the Mohicans and The Pioneers. Herman devoured these books and taught his younger brother Thomas about the American Indians. Eventually, Thomas pretended to hunt like a Mohican, and every conversation centered around Herman going to America. But Herman did not have his eyes set on this adventure alone. He convinced Katharina Neufeld to accompany him to this great adventure. Everyone knew Katharina was smitten with Herman. For months, she batted her eyes at him, and whenever she saw him at church or in town, Herman finally got the hint and began courting her. Of course, Katharina's papa insisted that they marry before he would allow his only daughter to go away with him to America. The whole family contributed to the wedding preparations. Sister Heidi redesigned Katharina's pink floral dress, adding strips of flowery lace her father imported from Italy. The whimsical lace fluttered in the breeze as she floated toward the groom. The added layers of her skirt flounced beneath the hemline with each step. Sister Eva baked them a delicious white cake, dotted with dainty, jeweled edelweiss petals cascading over it. Young Thomas, who loved to hunt, supplied the venison for the feast, and Mama roasted it to savory perfection. During the ceremony, his sister, Maria, perfectly sang Martin Luther's hymn, Our Father, who from heaven above, and his sister Lena busied herself by helping Katharina with anything she needed. As soon as the wedding was over, Herman and Katharina left for their new life in America. Several months after setting foot on American soil, they wrote home to their family that they had become parents and that they now had purchased farmland in southern Illinois where other Germans had settled. Herman wrote that other German Lutherans had traveled to from Bremen together, and that they'd found fertile land up the Mississippi River near a flowing stream. The next letter, which arrived several months later, said that he, Katharina, and little Hans were happy and that a new baby was on the way. But as much as Herman and Katharina wrote about their love for their new home and their growing family, eventually Herman had a letter that had more disturbing news. Mama and Papa, the farm is producing more corn and wheat than you ever saw in Germany, And Americans eat as much corn as their animals, so prophets are excellent with this crop. And if you didn't know, Germans really don't eat corn over in Germany. But I must send distressing news. I'm still reading the letter. My darling Katerina died while giving birth to our daughter Hannah. Little Hans and new baby are well, but I need help. I cannot run the demands of an expanding farm and tend to 2 babies in diapers. Frau Greta Stolz, the butcher's wife, she helps me as much as she can, but I cannot expect her to raise my children indefinitely. I want you to send Lena to me. She has always been good with the little ones. I will pay for her passage and look after her here in America. Your last letter indicated that she had no marriage match for her yet, and even though she will be 18 soon, that's getting old back then. If Lena is free to come to my aid, I think she will like our German community here in America. I seldom need to know English in the village circles of trade, and the church services are in German too. I am enclosing the information that she will need to find me in America. Please send her soon, your loving son, Herman. So that's why Lena comes to America. On her way, like I said, she's in New Orleans, she sees these horrific scenes. She also meets a young abolitionist, which becomes the love interest in the story. Between Carl, the young abolitionist, and Herman, they don't see eye to eye. Partly because Herman needs her, right, to help with the kids. He doesn't want her running off with some guy. And also, he doesn't think that this whole abolition thing is anything that should pertain to him, right? It doesn't have anything to do with him. And in fact, somebody this morning when I was talking to some folks in Collinsville, she says, yeah, I had family in Collinsville during the Civil War, and the war really never touched them. They said that, you know, they were able to kind of keep their nose to the grindstone and let it go on, you know, outside them. That's kind of was Herman's philosophy too. Like, it doesn't have anything to do with us. We don't have slaves. It's not, you know, it's not anything we need to deal with. So that's one of the major conflicts because this story is between those two. And like, in her decision, like, what does she do? Should she stay with Herman? Does she go with Carl? What happens? So that's kind of what the book is about. Let's see. I did bring some books with me. I think I have 17 back there. If you want a book, and I do run out, they are available on Amazon, and they are available as a Kindle, okay? So I had some people this morning like, I prefer Kindles. Great, I just can't find those, okay? So they are available Kindle, and there is an audiobook that will be coming out. The publisher has gotten a hold of me. The audio's out? Nobody told me. My publisher is not really good at communicating with me. Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, well, because they contacted me, it's been a number of months ago, asking me how to pronounce certain things. And like I was mentioning to some people, I'm probably not the person to ask how to pronounce certain things. Even some of the German names, you know, like, well, they wanted to know if it was Kruger or Krieger, you know, some things like that. But like your bird out here, how do you say it again? Piasaw. I don't say it that way. I'm always saying it wrong. But Piasaw, and I saw that story, by the way, is in the book. Carl, the love interest, tells it to some children. So that story is in the book, but I also talk about the name of the Indian chief and everything that saves the day and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how to say his name. I have no clue. So I said, do your best. So, but no, nobody had told me that it was out. Well, there you go. News, hot off the press here. So, yeah, I've been telling people that it will be out and to just keep checking because I didn't. They don't always tell me things. Oh, false alarm. No, anyway. Interesting. Well, like I said, it's supposed to be coming out. I just don't know when. And the publisher is doing that. Someone asked me earlier who the publisher is. The name of the publisher is Ambassador International, and they are out of South Carolina. I don't know for sure what religious group they belong to. They are a Christian publishing house. And I have had people say, well, why didn't you have like Concordia Publishing? They don't do fiction for the most part. Actually, I did talk to them and they took it to their marketing team and it just wasn't a direction they were going. So that's why that, even though it's German and Lutheran and all that kind of stuff, but it's fiction and they're doing the doctrinal and Bible studies and those kind of things instead. So, but yeah, no, if it's there, that's cool. That's news to me. But she's still looking. Any questions you have for me, other than how I'm related to other people here, which I can't tell you. So. Like I said, I know we must be related somewhere down the line, but I'm not sure how that works. I do know how I'm related to these two, however. So they are relatives on my grandmother's side. So, yes.
So when you mentioned Krieger, is that an actual name from around here?
That one I just pulled out of a hat.
Okay.
The names I kind of just, yeah. Oh, you are Krieger? I mean, I know it was of an official, real German name. I mean, like I could make them all Schmitz and things like that if I could. I didn't, like the butcher's name was Stoltz. And actually, I've done a lot of research. The names of the stores that they go to in Bethel in the book were real stores that they had here. Mapes was here. What was the other one now? But there was, so I did do some research, and of course some of those were like brand new at that time. But I did do research, and I know those. The steamboat that they come up Mississippi was a real steamboat. The railroad that was running between Alton and here, those are real names of those. So most of that stuff is all real. Yes?
What's the name of your second and third
Okay, so it's For the Love of Family is the first one. For the Love of Honor is the second one, for the Civil War. And the third one will be For the Love of Home, which will be about the orphanage, which I'm still figuring out what the plot's going to be on that, but that's why I was doing all the research. Give me some stories. I know that the very first child that was at the orphanage was almost 3, and what his name is. That's things I learned this week. But yeah, so I'm figuring that out. So the second book will be Lena's younger sister, the one that was singing for the wedding. She's going to be coming over here as kind of a famous singer, sort of a I can't think of the name, the Swedish Nightingale. Jenny Lind, kind of patterned off that, where she's supposed to come and sing and make a big hit. And then the third one will be the brother Martin, which not really mentioned so much here in the prologue, but Martin is like the nerdy brother who likes to read and everything. Well, he is a professor at Leipzig, and when Walther, this is how my history and my fiction kind of meld, is that C.F.W. Walther goes back to Germany in the 1860s for some R&R, for real, that he really does that. And one of the things he does is he tries to recruit people to help teach over at the SEM so they can get some pastors out to these areas like Nebraska and Iowa and all these German communities that are popping up everywhere. They need pastors. So he recruits pastors, and some he recruits some teachers to train pastors here. So my fictional person is going to be recruited to do that, Martin, the academic one, and then he's going to fall in love with a war widow who helps him with the orphanage. So that's kind of how the third one's going to go when I figure out the whole plot, but it'll be something along that line. So all of it will be around here. I do. If you Google Terri Bently, you should find it. Yeah. So I do have a website, and the books are listed there. I also do a lot of writing for LWML. I write a lot of Bible studies. I write a lot of devotions. I was the chair of the Christian Resource Editors for a while nationally. There will be, for those of you involved in LWML, or even if you're not, there's going to be a new devotion book that comes out in the next 2 months that I wrote that is called Oh Lord, I'm Puzzled. And it's all devotions based on puzzles. So like, when you feel like you don't fit in, that kind of stuff, puzzles, metaphor. So there'll be, I think there's 20 of them in there. And that will be out, like I said, before the conventions this year, I believe. So, but yeah, I do a lot of writing for LWML, and some of those things are mentioned on the website too. And I'm on Facebook, and on my Facebook page, since Terri Bently, by the way, Bentley is a common enough name that there's a number of them out there, okay? I do have my maiden name on the Facebook page, so it says Terri Neunaber Bently. And you guys know how to spell Neunaber. Nobody else knows how to do that. So, believe me, they don't know how in Idaho how to spell it. So, but yeah. Oh, she just backed out of that. It's not on Audible yet, folks. So, like I said, if it is, I hadn't been told. Yes.
You said you're researching the
Mm-hmm.
Did you run into the name Banger?
Yes, yes. Oh. Yes, I mean, yeah, and I found a lot of stuff about him. He didn't only start that, he started a lot of other mission projects as well. And yeah, in fact, yeah, well, when I was in Perryville and Oldenburg, the fellow I was talking to down there, he was saying Banger should get a lot more credit than he does. He figured that we should know his name much better than Walther. That's what he was saying. He obviously had a, like Banger, he said, did so much more than Walther did. No, Walther gets all the credit, is what he was saying. But yes, no, I did get some things about him. That's really cool. So.
There's a very good book on Underground Railroad routes from Alton in the southern Illinois part of this area, and some of the different places in Alton that were stations that are still in existence today.
Well, that's what Carl does, is help find places for people on the Underground Railroad. That's one of the things he does, and in the story. So yeah, I did some research on that too. So if I had taught English, I would have taught history. I love both a lot. And the truth is, if you're an English teacher, secondary, you have to teach history anyway. I mean, you can't teach, say, Great Gatsby without teaching the 20s. You can't teach the Scarlet Letter if you don't teach, about the witch trials and things. You just really can't do it. And so I've always taught history along with English anyway. And so this is an easy fit for me to do this. So I was looking for what they taught over at the SIM in the 1860s, for instance, if I'm going to have somebody be a student there or a professor there. And I was kind of leaning toward literature because I thought I can pull on that one. So I think that's what I'll probably do. But yeah, it takes a while to get all this on paper. So we'll see how it goes. So yes. Oh goodness. Well, like I said, I found out like even what stores were here at that time. And this, of course, I kind of fudged the dates a little bit just to make my story work, because quite honestly, in the 50s, it was more of a circuit rider pastor in this area rather than the established church so much. That's a little bit later, but it was close enough, I figured. But doing the research, for instance, okay, so Lena, my main character here, at one point I wanted her to sing a song to the kids. And I thought, oh, I'll have her sing Jesus Loves Me. Well, guess what I had to do? When was Jesus Loves Me written? Dang it, it was written in 1890s, which is about 40 years too late, so I didn't use it, So I find sometimes I hit these dead ends. So, for instance, in the second book, Civil War, one of the characters goes to Gettysburg, and one of well, there's a Lutheran seminary in Gettysburg, okay? And they used it as a field hospital, right? And I thought, oh, great, I'll have him get wounded, he can recover at the SIM, and he can decide to devote his life to God. The SIM was on the south side and he's on the Union side. It's like, darn, I can't make this work, It's like, I can't get wounded over here, and oh, we're gonna take him all the way over here. No, it's not gonna work. So it's like, things like that, so you hit these dead ends. But yeah, so like I said, I found out, about the railroad, the Terre Haute Railroad, and I have in this book, they actually attend the Lincoln-Douglas debate in Alton. So they go down there, and with the Lincoln-Douglas debate, people came from all over. Some people are coming down from Springfield. Lincoln and Douglas himself actually came in on a steamboat together, had breakfast together that morning, as a matter of fact, and went to their separate, they had two different hotels in Alton that they went to. Lincoln went to the Franklin Hotel, and off the top of my head, I can't think of the name of the other one, where Douglas went. And they're actually quite friendly to one another. Sure, they spar, when they're talking, But I found it so interesting, and of course everybody knows stature-wise, Lincoln's here and Douglas is there, right? But even their voices, Lincoln had apparently a high-pitched voice and Douglas had kind of a low voice. And I thought the juxtaposition of these two guys is amazing. And looking up all of the details and stuff about it. And so in the story, I'll tell you all about the story, you don't want the book. In the story, Carl takes Lena to it to basically trying to tell her how important this whole idea about getting rid of slavery and stuff is, and how he's like this champion for Lincoln and wants Lincoln to do well. And so I dropped in parts of the speeches between the two, and then Carl is kind of explaining to Lena what that means, So like, well, this is why this is important. Or when there's something that's said that he doesn't like and why he gets upset about it and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, all of those kind of things to research and to pull in and the farm, I kind of made up the farm, but it's over that way, and they, don't go too far. But it goes through a couple years actually. So they go through a summer, they go through a couple winters. There's an accident in the snow. I mean, there's quite a few things that happen as they go along. They go to a fourth, this is something that I thought was really kind of cute, I guess, when I came on Sunday to find out you're having your sausage thing. That's in the book, folks. I put that in the book. You have your sausage festival in the book. I was like, yes! I knew you still did that. Yeah, because you've been doing that like forever. You've always been done that. But so I have Carl and Lena meet at the sausage festival. So again, of course, they keep reigniting their little romance there. But yeah, so those kind of things, finding out stuff that some things I knew and I drew from, and other things I discovered as I went along. I go, I got to put that in. I'll give you another aha. Okay, so in the second book, Maria, the younger sister, she's a singer, and I have her singing at the Brooklyn Concert Hall in 1863 during the Civil War. And I'm researching. Guess who speaks at the Brooklyn Concert Hall in 1863, that same summer? I didn't know this when I started writing. Frederick Douglass, the former slave, okay, the guy with the really funky hair, probably can visualize him. And I'm thinking, well, they have to meet. So I have, put him in the story. But yeah, you start researching and you find these ahas and you're going, I got to put that in there somehow. They had to have met. They were there at the same time. Well, my fictional person was there at the same time. But yeah, that kind of stuff. And anyway, I was able to work in the Gettysburg Address somehow in the second one. I just finished that chapter before I came here and stuff. So anyway, like I said, I love those ahas and getting all excited. There are some days that it's all research and I wrote a paragraph maybe, because of all of that stuff. But I really like that part. It's fun. So, I'll go here. Okay, I live in a cabin in the mountains, and I have one whole wall is nothing but windows, okay, and I look down into a valley that's just gorgeous. I live about an hour north of Boise, in the mountains. It's not super high, so we're not usually stowed in or anything, but my desk is in the main room, and I can look up and sometimes see elk, deer, whatever. And I have a Bernese Mountain Dog Australian Shepherd that is at my feet all the time. And even when I'm not at the computer, she will go under there like, it's time, so she's, she's trying to tell me to get with it, and that kind of thing. But that's where I do my writing. I don't have a office that I segue out of. So all right, I gotta tell you this. This is my dedication to the book. For my husband. To my husband, Dale, who never tires of me sending him out to work on his car so I can write. He's always in the way. Because like I said, I'm not in some little office somewhere, and he'll come in and he'll start talking, and I go, shh, be quiet. I'm trying to, I'm in the middle of something, but yeah. He has a 57 Chevy. He's supposed to be restoring. I just can't keep him out there all the time to work on it. It was his grandmother's. It's never been out of the family. But yeah, so that's your question. But yeah, either way, if you're ever in Idaho, come and see me. I would gladly take you in. In the summer, we float the Middle Fork of the Paya. In the winter, there's wonderful sledding areas. There's skiing not too far if you're into skiing. And we have 5 bedrooms, so you can come and see me anytime. You're certainly welcome. I saw another hand. It's definitely grown. The first book is the one that's been in my head for many years, since the kids were little. And if you talk to a publisher or an agent or anyone, they will tell you that most publishers don't want a one and done. Okay, they want like a series. And so it was easy for me to like start creating other things in my head. And like I said, finding other things like, oh, well, this could go in another book. Or like Thomas, which is one of the main characters in the second book, he's a little boy in the first book that's on the ship with her when she comes over. And he lives in Perry, or Perry County. And that's one reason I was doing some of my research down there too, because I had never been down there. In fact, I'd never been to Gettysburg until last year either. So it was sort of like, to see things in person that I'd been writing about was like, oh, so that's where Cemetery Hill is, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, so it has definitely grown. The first story, even that story had grown. The original was maybe in the 50,000 words or something like that, and I was told that it needed to be longer. So I put more things in it about dealing with the abolition and the black people and stuff that I didn't have this much in there before. I sent an early draft of this story to I have a sister who lives in Canada, her daughter-in-law, who's an avid reader, and this is her genre, she loves this. So I sent it to her name is Lauren, and she gave me some feedback that was just wonderful. Oh, I laughed at this part, and all this kind of thing. I mean, she thought parts were funny that I didn't even intend to be funny. I thought, oh, okay. But when it came out as an actual published book, my sister, she goes, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but Lauren liked the first one better. And like the prologue, I mean, that was something the publisher had asked me to do. And so, I mean, some of the things you had to kind of change because, it's just the nature of the beast. I had to do things like that. So I don't know what she liked better or what she didn't. I'm not sure what. But yeah, some of those things had to change. The publisher, I think I mentioned, was a Christian publisher. I don't know what denomination they are, but I know they're not Lutheran, and I can tell you a couple reasons why I know they're not Lutheran. One is that the character gets hurt, okay? One of the brother, Herman, he gets hurt. And so the characters say, give him some whiskey and we'll go get a doctor. They wouldn't let me do that. They said, we do not allow alcohol in our books, unless it's like, don't do it, kind of thing. I thought, really? And I talked to my friends, and they go, well, John Wayne would have done that, And so what happened is that eventually, that was an editor I was working with, and then when it got to a senior editor, she actually allowed it to come back in. But it's sort of like, what? So, but I'm thinking, well, what would they have given him? I mean, what's on the shelf that you could give somebody for pain? They didn't have aspirin or any Tylenol back in those days. Like, laudanum? I mean, what are you going to give them, So I thought, well, this, that kind of was aggravating. And then in the Civil War one, okay, I have my character going to a German regiment. Those German regiments had beer and stuff like that. I can't use that. Not if I'm using the same publisher, I won't be able to. And the general for that regiment was Howard. I don't know if you guys Civil War buffs or not, but he was a Massachusetts Puritan, did not like the Germans at all. And partly is because that kind of thing, they're kind of happy beer drinking folk, So, but I won't be able to use that as a point of contention in the story, not if I can't say anything about that. So, so some of those things I kind of have to navigate around a little bit. So, some of the things I learned I can't use. So, yeah.
Without giving away anything to people who haven't read it already, I do like that Thomas is going to appear. I like that.
He's coming back.
I would assume that maybe the Jackson family will continue.
They're not
How you integrated that.
they're not in the second one, but there's another black lady that is. So the Jacksons are a black family in the first book. So, oh, thank you. Yeah, because by the time the second book, the characters in this one have moved to Alton, and but yeah, there's a different family. There's a different family that'll be involved in that one. Yeah. The land was available. Yeah, so there were already some people here that came to that at this time. Like I said, there were other Germans that were coming to this area, and the 1850s is when my ancestors did come. So yeah, kind of basing it from that time period. So yeah. Yes, yeah, they were farmers. At least the ones that I'm dealing with are farmers. Yeah.
Now, we're very newbies
Mm-hmm.
here, but I've come to understand that Bethalto was also a mining town.
I didn't see that so much in what I was looking at. I know I was, because I lived also in Alton when I was little, about the brick streets and stuff, and there was a brickyard there. It doesn't come until later, because I was kind of wanting to pull that into.
My mom's back in the side yard.
Yeah, I was to say, doggone it, but it's a little bit after when I was writing about it. It's like, doggone it, I can't use it. But I was driving over there just the other night, trying to get the lay of the land a little bit, because I had the characters in the second book live at Christian Hill. Are you familiar with Christian Hill in Alton? Okay, so I had to look to see where it was because, okay, so I have them living at Christian Hill and he's working at the penitentiary. I'm going, so how far is that? Oh, it's not far. Good, I did good. Because, I mean, maps and stuff sometimes are hard to tell how far things are. So it's like sometimes just kind of seeing things, and I've been enjoying my trip here, I got to say, seeing all this stuff. So going down and driving around like Perry County and stuff, I go, oh, that was kind of neat. I got here Friday night. It was pretty cold. So, worse. Well, and it's funny because being from Idaho, people go, oh, you're used to cold. It's not that cold in Idaho, folks. Yeah, we're not that cold. Well, I called my husband after I arrived here, and it was like 5, and the wind chill was minus whatever. And he goes, oh, it got to 40 today. Oh, shut up. So yeah. So it's not as cold as I think people think it is because we're out west and in the mountains and stuff. But so yes. Well, tomorrow I will be taking my rental car back, and I actually have LWML meetings I need to go to from Thursday to Saturday. Like I said, I'm the president of the Utah-Idaho District. All the district presidents for LWML are meeting in St. Louis starting tomorrow afternoon. And that's actually why I'm here. LWML paid for my plane ticket here. And I just asked if I could come a few days early, since it didn't make any difference to them if I came what day as far as how much the plane tickets cost. And I have a cousin I've been staying with. I rented a car and been doing all this running around. So yeah, so I start tomorrow for what I'm really here for, or what I was sent here for. So yeah, I'll be in meetings tomorrow through Saturday, and then I go home Saturday night. Yeah. Oh, no, I won't be here long enough for that. No, but I just thought it was really cute. I go, oh, that's cool, except for I have you doing it in the fall, I do believe, in my book, but I don't know if you changed when you did that or not. I don't have any idea. When you were doing this back in the 1800s, do you remember? No. So, yeah.
So when you get this series done, what's your next series?
Oh, funny. I've had some other people ask me that. I actually there's a kernel back here. I do have an idea, but I kind of want, don't think about it yet. Don't think about it yet. My kernel that I kind of wanted to expound on is probably during World War I and how the Germans in America were treated, especially when they're looked at as spies and whatnot, speaking the German language, when the Lutheran churches had to change from German to English in the services, that kind of stuff. And I figured there's got to be some good stories in there somewhere. And, but I can't think about that yet. But that's kind of what I had in mind, if I live long enough. So. Oh, that's a good question, because if you had a chance to see this, I don't know about you, but I love this cover. It's beautiful. The publishing house that I have a contract with, and I have contract for the next 2 books, in the contract it says that we will design 3 covers for you, and you can pick one. If you don't like it, then you pay for a cover to make, basically. Well, they only sent me one, but I like it. I like it so much, I didn't have a problem with that at all. I thought it was very pretty. A friend of mine, who's also a writer, her complaint was, I think she has too much makeup on for the 1800s. I go, oh, shut up, she's pretty. but yeah, that's kind of how that works. Because I'm certainly not a graphic designer or anything. Yes?
Where did you have them landing when they came into
Alton. Oh, sorry.
that I know right now people from Germany came to Vermont.
Yes, that's exactly what happens. They take a ship. By the way, the name of the ship that they're on was a real ship. It's the Olbers, Olbers. They came over on the Olbers and came to New Orleans and then switched to a steamboat up the river. Yes, that's what they do.
Roosevelt had to brought in Prairie Town, came from New Orleans to St. Louis, and the road was so bad, they took him to the spring.
Oh my. Yeah, and even that, trip is several days, to come up the river and whatnot.
I mean, they stayed in St. Louis.
Oh, yeah. So the young family she travels with, the Kriegers, they get off at St. Louis and they head down to Perry County. And then she gets off in Alton and comes up here to meet her brother. So, yeah. So. Uh-huh. Yeah, we have roots for everywhere. Well, we were talking earlier about even our family. We're kind of scattered all over in different countries and everything else. But as far as like my immediate cousins and things like that, we're the only ones that went west, my immediate family. My folks lived in Alaska for a while. She mentioned that she'd visited there. My dad worked for, like I said, the Federal Highway Department. As a federal highway engineer, you go to where the jobs are, right? To where they're building the interstates and whatever. So I grew up going to a new school probably every 2 years. We moved all over the place. And people usually ask, well, were you military? No, but we were doing that. And my dad kind of dropped off daughters as he went. So I being the oldest, I remained in Boise when my folks moved to the Yukon. My dad worked on the Alaskan Highway for a while, went to the Yukon. And my dad used to joke that when he moved to Alaska, he says, we're one of the few people I know that moved south to Alaska from the Yukon. And they lived in Juneau for a while. So like I graduated, from school in the Boise area, and I have sisters that graduated in the Yukon and sisters that graduated in Juneau and, that kind of stuff. So yeah, we were kind of dropped off all over the place. I have one sister who married a Canadian, became a Canadian citizen, so I do have a Canadian sister. And they live just in Vancouver, BC. But the rest of us, the other 4 of sisters, all live in the Boise area. So we're all that direction. So I've been taking lots of pictures while I'm here, like, oh, look, I found this cousin, this person, and this person, that kind of thing. So, because me being the oldest, I remember the people better anyway, and so I have to go back and tell stories. So, like, how are we related to, so-and-so and whatnot. But yeah. We don't know. We haven't figured out how we're related. I don't know. You'd have to go back a ways, I think, to figure it out. If they're not immediate family and like first cousins or something, my dad was one of 3 boys, okay? His older brother had 3 girls. I'm the oldest of 5 girls. His younger brother had 4 girls. There's not a boy in the bunch. So I know they're not first cousins. And so, yeah. So, and then there was sister, my Aunt Joyce, she had the boys. And of course, they weren't born Neunabers. They were born, her husband's name was Bishop. And so they're bishops. And they actually, I got to see some of them today, so that was nice. But yeah, so all the Neunaber girls are now something else. So, yeah. Yeah, makes it kind of tricky. Yes? Didn't even know there was a Bethalto museum. Didn't know that. Actually, I think my cousin might have mentioned it, but I haven't been there, no. I don't know, I'll have some time tomorrow morning, maybe. Maybe we can go there tomorrow, Gloria. No? Oh, it's not open very often, huh? Okay, well. Oh. Oh, you have connections? Okay. How funny. Well, because Gloria and I were going to probably get together, so maybe we can do that. Yeah, because my grandpa Williams, that's my mom's dad. He was Charles Otto Williams. He was a volunteer fireman, and anyway, but yeah, like I said, I've got roots on both sides. So, well, I probably bored you long enough. So, I do have some books in the back if you want, and if you brought a book, because some people did, I would gladly sign it too. So. And then, oh, I guess people usually, how much are they? With tax, they're like $19. So I will take checks because I trust you, because I'm not set up for Venmo or anything. So, so anyway, so that's all I have for you, I think, is so hopefully you were entertained.